Let's go ahead and get them counted down to the first match between DanV and Chroma. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. So there we go. We got our start from both players. DanV, your 11th seed. Chroma, your 54th seed. I believe we're almost all the way through to top 16. We have about, including this one, about 5 more brackets left. Even though this bracket is called the purple bracket, I feel like it's more like an indigo. I feel like definitely purple is lighter than the colors that were chosen. But as it stands, both players off to a pretty good start here. DanV taking 1 burn line so far. Chroma getting set up for next Tetris. Gonna be 3 Minos shy of being set up for the next one. And Chroma has taken 3 burn lines. So very efficient 20 line openers here. What's my favorite shade of purple? I have to think about that. I can give you a hex color for it. There's the hex code for my favorite color of purple, or favorite shade of purple. 231,000 for DanV, 185 for Chroma. Chroma having to do some burning here. But Chroma does get the well open, and a Tetris will be scored, so trailing by 2 Tetrises. Also slightly behind in lines, so could close that gap by at least 1 Tetris. And now DanV just waiting for a long bar. I'm going to be real patient, so going to take a disciplined triple. But Tetris will be scored 283 at 60 lines. Just under what you'd be looking for a 650, but a little bit of wiggle room in order to get a 600k transition. $329 now. DanV is going to knock down another Tetris, go up to 357. Chroma at 275. Gonna go for the L spin, not gonna hold out for the O. As a matter of fact, those are the O's too. Gonna force Chroma to kind of stack them up in column 3-4. But as it stands, really outside of the one situation that Chroma encountered around 20-ish lines or so ago, both players have been at a pretty comfortable spot. A triple is going to be taken over there from DanV. Chroma is going to have to take a few burns. Does get the well open. Just waiting patiently on this next long bar. O-piece not quite making its way all the way over to the left. So, following this Tetris is going to be preferring to get... Oh, actually, those pieces are quite ideal. Just needs a J piece to go over to the left, or an I piece will do. And just like that, only 1 burn to solve over there for Chroma, and a nice adjustment to accommodate the L. However, DanV on an absolute tear here pace-wise. 482 for DanV, 100,000 point lead. Small line discrepancy, so Chroma's going to cut into that a little bit. But DanV definitely with the advantage. Running into a small slowdown, but still is going to score the Tetris. About 5 Tetrises remain for DanV. Nice adjustment on the O. Helps fill out that right side a little bit more. And we'll have to see how things look like in the post-transition. DanV, with 2 Tetrises possible with perfect play, that's going to require some very specific pieces, so only going to be able to grab 1 more Tetris. But a 600k transition is going to happen. That's a 621 transition over there for DanV. Chroma still with 3 Tetrises to go, now 2 following the addition of that Tetris. And what a great stack DanV has on level 19. Has ample opportunities to mitigate a drought, and that's appear like what we're running into. Chroma with 1 more Tetris available. There's a Tetris for DanV, goes up to 653. Another one, 678 now. Chroma going for this last Tetris, having to take a skim, a little bit of uncomfortable height for the board at transition. Pieces are not making it over to the left. Chroma needs this long bar, and he needs it now. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up. Chroma tops it at 523. DanV is going to be good for game number 1. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. I just feel like DanV's mocking me. Like, look at Sharky. Can't even restream correctly. Mistyping a simple exclamation 3 for the countdown. It happens. But DanV, 600k transition in the last game. Chroma was going to transition around a low 500. Had to take a single into transition. A very uncomfortable stack, too. And just a long bar did not come when it was needed. Yeah, of course, Tack. But, I can't do a British accent, and I've not put enough energy into mastering the art of English speaking. Speaking about mastering the art, right now DanV was getting a little bit up high, going to be forced to do some burning here. And the holes are actually really tediously formed, so a few more burns are going to be committed. Hallucinating about what? Nice little column 2 going to be scored over there from DanV. It's just going to take the burn single. Not going to try and go for any left wheel shenanigans. But throughout that entire burn that DanV had to encounter, and just really he wasn't in any danger. It was just no way to kind of get set up for a Tetris just because of how the holes were formed. Chroma is able to take a lead here in the early game. 228 at 41 lines. I believe that's only 1 burn line. So a nigh flawless opener for Chroma. A lot of tugs being forced over here from DanV. Oh, that T-piece is going to do wonders. And, oh, interesting. Decides to place the T-piece in that orientation as opposed to tucking it over to the left. 1 burn line was committed, but the board is immaculate. Chroma at 283, DanV at 211. Chroma now going to be looking for both an L or a J. Now a double J or just 1 J at this point. And keeps on filling the J piece dependency. Does get an L though. Should be able to help him burn out. Looking for an L or a J now. And DanV has utilized this opportunity to kind of close the gap by... Oh, nice ice spin over there. DanV is going to be able to close the gap. Down by now just around 2.5 Tetrises. Not even, actually. Well, yeah. Chroma able to knock down Tetris roughly around the same time as DanV. So taking the lead in 18. Really just Chroma hanging on to the lead that was built up around the first 20-ish lines or so. Not even 20-ish lines. You can argue the first 40 lines. And with both players at identical line counts, this 70,000 point lead for Chroma is a true lead. Don't have to do any advanced pace calculations or deductions in order to find out how much Chroma would truly lead by approximately. A couple of quick Tetrises for DanV. Gonna bring him up to 385. Add a Tetris, go up to 408. And Chroma's gonna be able to find some of those Tetrises as well. Fills in the isolated dependency in column 7. Would love an S piece. Nice timing. We are closing in the level 19 transition, just under 30 lines away. And Chroma running into like the first real slowdown that we've seen from him all game. DanV, ooh, maybe a little bit of an early rotation on that J. There's actually plenty of ways to solve this. Goes for the double tuck and the J for the tuck right there. Just like that, the stack's going to be clean. 3 Tetrises is available for DanV. 4 with perfect play for Chroma. 3 following that burn, though. Just waiting patiently on the long bar. And actually opts for the safer 3-line burn. So 2 Tetrises left. DanV is going to transition at 531. Chroma setting up some multi-level burns here. Fortunately, not going to be able to transition with the Tetris. Would love one more J piece. There it is. Chroma transitions at around 560. DanV with the real-time lead as both players knocked down a Tetris. So 604 to now 586. Much different situation than what we saw in the last game, where Chroma had a rough stack to deal with on level 19. DanV now looking for an eyepiece. This would be a triple at best. Yeah, there it is. 639 to 638. Incredibly close games here. But both players kind of experiencing the same kind of level of turbulence on level 20. Of course, Chroma had to deal with a little bit less of that. He's going to be Tetris ready. There's a Tetris for DanV. Chroma going to go for a little bit more conservative placements, kind of establish the double wide there momentarily, at least. Chroma set up for another Tetris. There's another Tetris for DanV. 754. Chroma at 704. Another Tetris scored over there for Chroma. 731 now. DanV keeping up the pace. 784. Gonna be really pushing Chroma here to try and stay as efficient as possible. Chroma does find a Tetris, but now it's gonna be forced to do some burning. And that T-piece didn't quite make its initial orientation, or rather the orientation that Chroma is looking for. However, there could be a dirty Tetris in the making here. Chroma needs that eyepiece. There it is, dirty Tetris. Left side does need to be resolved with. What a double wide that was set up over there for Dan. Gun knocked down Tetris. 851, a 60,000 point lead for him going in the level 25. Chroma's almost burned this all the way down. Those O pieces not helping his case too much. But that LJ combo followed up by an I piece. Would love another L. Doesn't get the L in time to fill in the dependency, but still able to knock down a Tetris. 946 now for DanV. 2 Tetrises, and we'll see the max, the million points over there for Dan. Chroma still has a little ways to go at 871. Down by 100,000 points plus. There's the max up for Dan going into level 27. Chroma at 903. 3 away. So we can see a max in level 27 for Chroma. There's another Tetris for Chroma. Goes up to 936. DanV maintaining this 110,000 point lead. So it's just had a slightly better post-transition than Chroma here. 969 for Chroma, A79 for DanV. Another Tetris, that's B14, 1.1 million. Chroma finally maxes here at A03. Level 27 max and a misdrop on the O piece. He's looking for a couple of pieces to help go for efficient burns. And these pieces are not hitting their target. Chroma's going to go try and get set up for a Tetris. Executes the tuck. Does have a long bar dependency in column 2. And is waiting for a long bar for a Tetris. Able to get the eyepiece over. And just going to have to compromise. Only one Tetris is available for Chroma. Chroma gets set up for the left wall Tetris. But not sure what kind of level of 29 playability is going to be available from this. Chroma can't get the eyepiece over for the last Tetris. A53 is going to be the top ballot. DanV at CO7 is good for game number 2. Let's go ahead and count them down. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. All right. Early misdrop over here from Chroma. That's going to cost some burns. Fortunate T-piece, though. Would love another T. That's the complete opposite of a T. These O pieces, not what Chroma wants. DanV, you're going to be able to knock down a Tetris. Nice little overhang setup, so a bunch of different solutions can be worked from that. Chroma's still kind of struggling to get into a consistent scoring position. All in all, though, board's back down to the bottom. DanV, throughout that entire time, has built up a 100,000 point lead early on. Nice adjustments over there from Chroma. And then does get the eyepiece, so is rewarded. Oh, the adjustment Vits from DanV. Beautifully executed. And the Tetris will be scored. And both players encountering some degree of complications on the board. DanV, a little bit more complicated than Chroma. I was going to be curious to see which one of these two will be able to get out of their respective situation first. Looks like DanV has a cleaner path to it. Chroma's actually going to go for the dirty column 2. Dirty column 2 is going to be scored. So there's one way to be efficient while downstacking is to downstack with a Tetris. Chroma would love a T-piece, followed up by a J-piece. Still waiting on that J-piece. Just going to actually fold and go ahead and take the triple. Seems like the good decision to do, as that J-piece was nowhere to be found. There it is. 266 for DanV. 189 for Chroma. A little bit of a spire developing over here for Dan. He's got a bunch of S's. And had one place that he wanted to put him. And sometimes that happens. So it's going to slow DanV down slightly, but not by a terrible amount. The well is going to be open, so he's going to be ready for a Tetris, and there it is. Both players actually find the Tetris there. 264 to now 325. Chroma closing the gap, down by 60,000 points. Just under 3 Tetrises, roughly. Ooh, a couple of S's. Maybe unwanted. Chroma gonna also just take the burns. Not gonna go for anything like hyper aggressive. There's always gonna be that temptation, especially if it sets up cleanly, because the option was there. But you know, sometimes the best way to stay efficient is to go ahead and take the burns out and just get back to your comfortable right wheel setup. And both of these players are in that comfortable setup. DanV 401, Chroma 314. It's gonna be another Tetris scored over there for Chroma and DanV. And looks like things are pretty tame here. We're about to hit the level 19 transition. DanV has 14 lines to go. That translates into a possible 4 Tetrises. Definitely be a nice little score injection before the transition. Chroma has the ability to get 5 Tetrises of near perfect play. It's going to be one of them. 414 and now 498. No Tetris over there for Chroma. DanV having to take some disciplined burns. Has to go for the S flat, so only has a Tetris and a burn left before level 19. Now just a Tetris. Appears that a drought kind of hitting a little bit hard there. DanV will hit the transition though at 526. Chroma at 461 has 1 Tetris left on the table. Nice adjustment. Chroma does actually find the Tetris before transition. A 487, trailing by just under 100,000 points. Executes on the tuck flawlessly. Another Tetris for Chroma. DanV is going to find one himself. That's going to reach 600k for him. That O piece, not necessarily the most friendly. Got a little bit shaky over there for DanV, but going to be able to burn out of it like he was never in danger in the first place. 70,000 points is what separates them, and of course some amount of lines. Chroma is behind, so it might be a lot closer than it appears to be. As a matter of fact, at one point, Chroma did have an opportunity, if he was able to play perfect, to be at the exact same pace as Dan. The slowdown on 21 might cause Dan to actually build a real-time and pace lead. Chroma, well is now open. Tetris ready. Dan fighting through this drought. There's the Tetris for Chroma and a Tetris for Dan. T-spin is also hit over there from Dan. And whoa, interesting. Sets up the L-tuck overhang. And is able to execute on it. And as it stands right now, Dan's just going to continue to try and expand his lead. Is ahead in lines. But 140,000 points is quite the deficit to overcome. 824 now for Dan, 689 for Chroma. There's a Tetris for Chroma, and that T piece is going to find a lovely home over there on the left-hand side. Just looking for a J piece. That I piece will actually do. Now looking for another I piece for a Tetris, and that I piece came a bit too late. But that one came just in time. 753 now for Chroma. As Dan knocks down a Tetris going into 26. We're looking at another max in 27 over here from Dan. That's a pretty gnarly spire there in the center. It's not super high, but was definitely dependent on certain pieces. 957 now for Dan, 819 for Chroma. Chroma's going to knock down a Tetris. Would love to get an S piece. Oh, SZ combo right there is actually perfect. Another Tetris for Chroma. Dan, only 4,000 points away from the max out the million points, so we're going to see that right now. 831 for Dan. Chroma doing the best that he can here. Max is still on the table, but Dan has already passed that. As a matter of fact, Dan's going to take us into 29 with a BO2. That's 1.1 million and 2,000. Couple misdrops over here from Chroma. Dan able to knock down a Tetris. Now he's going to have to do some down stacking. And now Chroma's in jeopardy of not maxing before 29 at all. Can try and go aggressive. As if the pieces allow it. Just need the 2 Tetrises here. There's one. With only 1 burn line to go. Actually, Chroma set that up pretty nicely. Just needs this long bar. There's the long bar. There's the max for Chroma. Not able to do anything. But a max is going to be good for Chroma. However, Dan's going to be good for the match. With B68 here on level 32, DanV is going to advance to round 2. I believe that's back-to-back for Chroma, if I'm not mistaken. Well, no, because we had to reset the game because of a missed seed. We could call it a theoretical back-to-back, right? It's back-to-back in my heart. Let's go and get them counted down. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. So winner of this will get to play DanV, who is waiting. Oh, nice setup over there from Sam Finch. Intentionally creating the Z-spin dependency because the Z piece was next. Already showing some flair here in the beginning of the game. Eren's just going to only have 1 more burn line than Sam Finch here. Sam Finch looking for a J piece. Going to be forced to burn. So Eren going to be able to take advantage of that. It appears that we are running into a drought. Eren does find the long bar, able to use it for a Tetris. Sam Finch. Oh, nice set of burns. Waiting on the long bar. This is going to burn out a single. The Tetris will be scored. 121 now, 162 here. Just under the 30 line, or not the 30 line mark. Well, just under the 30 line mark for Sam. And a little bit over for Eren. Looks like a couple more burns are going to be forced on Sam Finch's side. But should be fine. Eren being able to maintain a clean board throughout the majority of the first 50 lines or so. Is now Tetris ready. And take a safety skim there. Another skim. There's Tetris for Eren. Is actually going to be able to get Tetris ready for in time for the second one. So almost a 100,000 point lead for Eren. But there is a line discrepancy. And Eren's going to be also forced to do some more burning on top of this. Just got some unfavorable pieces. Not in danger. Able to get that piece all the way over to the left. Yeah, Eren's going to be able to open up the well. But it might be just a slight opportunity for Sam Finch to kind of close the gap between the two. Right now, things look pretty stable for both players. 356 to now 399. Another Tetris for both players, or not for both players just yet. Eren, oh, going for the T-tuck there. Now Eren finds that Tetris. Gonna still be holding on to the real-time and pace lead. Ever so slightly, though. Okay, Sam Finch, if he's able to convert on Tetrises, will only trail by a Tetris at least. $450 now for Sam Finch, $471 for Eren. All things considered, these scores here, we're looking at some very high 500s, if not a 600k is actually possible for both. And Sam Finch actually goes for the conservative burn there. It's going to prevent the utilization of a long bar. So Eren, once again, is going to be able to try and build up this lead. Tetris for Sam Finch, 520 and now 543 at a Tetris over there. Eren's score goes up to 565. 3 Tetrises left possible for Eren. 1 more will give him the 600k transition. 2 more will give Sam Finch the 600k transition. So both players opening the match with some really solid 18 play. There's a Tetris for Eren. 1 more, and we'll see a 650, actually. And looks like Eren's going to go for it. Didn't want to take the skim. Holding out for the long bar now. Had to take the skim. There's the transition. 634, and a Tetris on level 19 goes up to 658. Sam Finch, however, experiencing complications. Needs a long bar to go over to that right-hand side. And unfortunately, couldn't get the right adjustment on those pieces. Sam Finch is now in trouble. Transitions at 594. Needs to get pieces over to the left, though. A J piece makes its way over. Now Sam Finch having a burn. An I piece makes it all the way over to the left. Great down stacking so far. Gonna go for the S-flat placement. Would love a Z piece here. Finds an alternative solution. But pieces. Sam Finch is gonna top out at 602. Eren is good for game number 1. It was 800, or wow, it was 900 at 934 at 20, going, or about to go into 24. Oh, the misdrop there. JP should help resolve that. Oh, it's gonna go for that. Those set of burns. Yeah, that's a bit expensive. Not gonna be able to get his board back into a cleaner state. Oh, going for the dirty Tetris. Able to knock it down. And there's the top out. Almost a perfect max. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. Yo, thank you for the Twitch sub. Much appreciated. With Twitch Prime. Ooh. Great game that was played by both on level 18. However, Sam, right before the transition, just ran into a lot of complications, and there wasn't really a clear way to navigate through without having to not only get the necessary pieces he was looking for, but also have the utmost precision in doing so. And Eren, a little bit shaky. Not going to be able to score Tetris for a couple of pieces. Actually, both players going to have to do some burning here. Oh! The accidental double flip over there on the long bar over there for Sam. And the hang on the left. Sam's going to top it at 27,000. Eren is already good. True, Vandy. All right, we got it ready from both players. Eren is on match point. It's up to Sam Finch to make a comeback. Let's see if he does. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. Nice little line spin over there. Eren's not going to get a line spin because he's stacking perfectly. For the time being. Well, since we have Stack Rabbit, I guess we can truly analyze if a player stacks perfectly or just stacks with no burns. Like, I wonder if there is a distinctful... That is a redundant sentence I was about to say. I wonder if there was a distinction between stacking perfectly and just stacking burnless. And I can tell you someone who's not burnless, and that's Sam Finch right now. Has yet to get a Tetris on the board. His long bar dependency finally gets filled over there in column 7. Whoa, that's kind of crazy. Sam's Finch scores 22, or was 22,800. The exact amount that a Tetris is worth. On level 18, that is. I find that a little funny. However, Eren is cooking up something serious. So 139,000 points is his current score. 70,000 point lead. And so far, only 5 burn lines, if I'm not mistaken, over here for Eren. Sam Finch, despite having a rather slow start, is starting to pick up some momentum. It's going to be able to try and match Eren's Tetris rate from here on out. And then the second that Eren finds either a moment of inefficiency or runs into a dig, or simply just misdrops, Sam Finch will have the opportunity to close the gap. As the 70,000 point lead is staying true. $304 now for Eren, 253. Mathematically speaking, if Sam Finch is able to play near perfect, 600k transition is actually still possible for him. And Eren definitely well on track for something beyond that. Of course, if Eren is able to win this game, he'll go up to place DanV, winner of the match between himself and Chroma. $345 to now 400,000, almost 400,000 flat. Yeah, this is 650k transition territory over here for Eren. $469 to $437. Sam Finch has actually closed the gap. Eren gonna run into a slowdown here. 3 burn lines are gonna be forced. and make that more than 3. Uncomfortable S piece. Nice, Eren finds the rotations just in time. Sam Finch actually goes for the triple there. Not wanting to go aggressive for the tuck. And understandably so, you don't want to risk a moment of potential to have an early top out here. Sam Finch narrowly avoiding a misdrop at that moment. Eren at 518. This is going to knock down Tetris, go to 541. So 5 Tetrises on the table for Eren with perfect play. And look, we made it to the toast song. I, for one, am a fan of lightly toasted bread with butter. Eren run into a slowdown. Sam Finch will transition on the next Tetris. Eren, actually, I don't think the 600k transition is going to happen. No, Eren's going to transition at 581. Sam Finch transitions at 545. Oh, the double rotation over there for Sam Finch. Kind of same misdrop that led to his top out in game 1. Fortunately, the stack was much lower and the recovery is a lot quicker and definitive. So Sam Finch can just go back to scoring Tetrises. Eren holding on to a slight lead here. Sam Finch gonna just take the burns. Eyepiece not making it over to the left-hand side. And the hang! Eren pulls off the upset with a sweep! So Eren's gonna advance to face DanV in round 2. Imagine all of y'all that just bet on Sam Finch. Your channel points are being usurped by the Eren believers. We have it ready from both players. Eren the Tapper at seed 43, adding another upset to the list of Mega Masters upsets so far. And DanV, your roller. Let's go and get them counted down. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. Alright, start off, both players with a Tetris. Eren not too happy with that placement. I can see why. It's a little bit dependent for certain pieces in order to maintain the perfect Tetris rate. If a J piece comes, that would be perfect. Nice. He's going to have to take his first couple of burns here, though. And, ooh, Eren with a misdrop. Gonna go for the Z vert tuck. And already Eren in an uncomfortable position. Should be able to downstack. We are on level 18 speed, so a slower speed. A little bit more time to move pieces over into desired locations. And Eren, as I said, gonna be able to bring the stack down to the bottom. And it's actually going to go for a row 3. 2S is going to help get access to that hole in column 5. And let's see what he does here. Just going to burn it out. DanV. Couple of tricky pieces. Oh, that OL combination. Just what he was looking for. So 190 for DanV at 42 lines. 150 for Eren at 43 lines. Well, roughly 150. Not exactly. and looked like a delayed Vitz over there for a second. But as opposed to being in column 9, it was in column 8, meaning that not just an eyepiece can help resolve that. There's other combinations of pieces that can work out just in case you don't get said eyepiece. It's one of the safer bits to go for. Speaking about going for Eren, hoping that RNG gives him a T-piece at some point. T-piece just was not available. So now back into a digging situation. Long bar dependent on the right-hand side. Nice burn. Able to tap the long bar over to the left. But I think that's going to be it. Eren's going to top out at 205. DanV is going to be already good for game number 1. Was that a Kitty Bug reference? All right. Both players, pretty good start here. DanV I'm gonna do a little bit of burning, nothing too serious. Just playing up high, but able to knock down a Tetris, bring the stack down. Eren with the bit of a efficient opener here. Gonna be able to take the lead. Nice little Z-spin over there from DanV. That particular formation that DanV does the Z-spin in, it's actually one of my favorite formations because there's so many ways that you can use to try and resolve out of it. Obviously, you can go for the J-spin, the L-spin, S-tuck, Z-spin, T-spin. It's just a very versatile setup. Where, you know, 5 out of the 7 pieces. Oh, wow, what an adjustment from DanV up top. What the heck? No, that's crazy reaction time. That is freaking wild. 219 for DanV, 237. Make that 259 for Eren. And there's a Vitz for DanV as well. Nice adjustment on the T. $291 now to now 306. DanV hot on Eren's tail, is actually taking the real-time lead. But Eren's going to be able to take it right back. And still behind in lines. DanV normally stacking higher than Eren, so pieces are going to be falling a little bit more quicker. And as a result, generally more lines are going to be burned at a faster pace. But overall, this has been a pretty calm game. Not a lot of drama. There has been some flashy plays over here from DanV. But both players have kind of seen more rigidity in the way that they're stacking. Over there, I want to say the past 40-ish lines or so. Not too many flashy adjustments. There was an adjustment, a couple adjustments over there from DanV though. 438 to now 451. I mean, when I say fall quicker, they touch the stack faster. So, compared to if you're down below, it's going to fall for the time it takes the piece to hit the stack. It's going to be a lot longer if you have a lower stack as opposed to if you're up high. So, kind of the same thing, really. But what's not the same are these scores. 459, or not 459, what? 481 for Eren, 530 for DanV. DanV looking to try and get a 570 here. It's definitely within the cards. Would love a J piece to fill in the dependency. And that's exactly what he's not getting. Oh, nice delay burn over there with the T setup. Going for the S-spin. Misses the S-spin. So only one Tetris available. But DanV does find it. 562 to now 530. Eren gonna transition. Actually, not gonna transition with a clean board. Didn't want to go for the flat burns. Eren transitions at 535, so really close in terms of transition. And Eren's going to be able to knock down not one, but two Tetrises on 19 to quickly close the score gap and bring the stack down. Eren already down by one game. Definitely looking to make a strong showing here. The well is now open. There's the Tetris for Eren. There's the Tetris for DanV. Nice adjustment there for Eren, being able to place that J piece flat. Definitely preferable. Both players level 21. There's another Tetris for Eren. Trailing by 60,000 points at the moment. But is also behind in lines. We do got to keep that in mind. That will affect in terms of how much pace they are separated by. As Eren was able to find another Tetris. DanV had to do a little bit of tuck here and there. But it's going to score a Tetris for himself as well. 778 to now 720. Eren taking a few burns, get the stack a little bit of a nicer overall feel. He's gonna knock down a Tetris. LJ to pin it over there in columns 2 through 3, or 2 through 4. Now looking for an L piece, gets an I piece instead. Tetris ready is Eren, but now is gonna be looking for an I piece yet again. And Eren's actually gonna be prevented from scoring for a couple of pieces here. DanV is just starting to run away with this game. 899. We're looking at another 26 max over here from DanV. We saw that a lot in this set up against Chroma. It looks like we might be able to see it here in this game, but that's of course Eren trying to survive. Last second double rotation. Able to try and get a couple more lines, but Eren's going to top out at 770. DanV is good for game number 2. Let's go ahead and get them counted down. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. There's the start from Eren. Eren, of course, down in this match. 2-0. Has to win this next game in order to at least extend the match by one game. Has to win the next 2 to force a decider. Dan only has 1 to go to advance to top 16. Where if Dan does advance to top 16, he'll play the winner of the... Is that the violet bracket? Oh, that's the pink bracket. Saying stand right now, pretty calm start. DanV has taken, I believe that's one burn line, if my math serves me correctly, and it appears to have. So, near flawless opener from DanV. And so, DanV with about a pace lead of about 2.5 Tetrises. And I mean, hey, I kind of did say it. And by me saying this, I'm totally about to summon a commentator's curse. But with, 3 7s in the seed, I said that, it's bound to be a good omen of sorts. And I don't know, 300k before 60 lines. That's a pretty good omen. DanV looking for a T-piece here. Might actually just have to go for the Z-spin. Never mind. T-piece has the stack. Eren not with too bad of a game. It's just DanV is not burning. $411 at 73 lines. What the heck? Eren at 339 at 73 lines. Ooh, we might finally see a burn from DanV here. Oh, this is going to be tough. How is he going to get out of this burnless? He's going to need a J-piece. Going to have to go for the eye spin. There's DanV with now not just one, but quite a few burns. Eren at 410. Not a bad game for him as well. But DanV 505 at 93. Oh. DanV actually opting to fill in the isolated dependency on the left first. Interesting, interesting. Goes for the ice spin delay burn there. Was thinking about setting up the Vits, but saw the adjustment off of it. Now DanV would love to get a J piece here. Well, no J piece, so DanV finally having to go through his first major burn all game long. Unless... Wait. No, wait. I was actually going to joke about him trying to go for a dirty Tetris of sorts. 600k is basically locked in for DanV. Eren's still fighting for his. And, ooh, complicated piece sequences over here for Eren. Alright, 600k transition might not be locked in for DanV. Might have spoke too soon. Definitely spoke too soon. That's going to be a 595 transition over there for DanV. Eren, on the other hand, looking for one last Tetris. Eren will transition 583 with the adjustment bits. Unless that was a default, which default bits right there in that situation is crazy. But 585, another Tetris, 609. Eren officially takes the lead and knocks down another one. DanV just really struggling to score here in the post. Ever since running into that situation on 18, has really had issues. And speaking of issues, the hang for Eren. Eren tops out at 639. DanV just needs 640. A Tetris will be good enough for that. All Eren can do is sit and watch. 640, almost exactly. DanV takes game number 3, sweeps Eren, and advances to your top 16. Look, there's his heart. Yeah, look at this dude.
Hey everybody, this is your old pal Vandweller, host of Classic Tetris Monthly, and I'm asking you to do me a favor. If you like this video, hit thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like it, please subscribe and bang that notification bell. And follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/monthlytetris. Thank you, and have a nice day.